Welcome to Speaking of the Voice podcast. I'm your host, Alicia voice actor, DJ, and hypnotherapist. I'm fascinated with the voice, where it comes from, how we heal it, and how we can use it to better express and connect with ourselves and others. This podcast is a collection of conversations exploring the voice, different tools to heal it, what happens when we connect to our most authentic voice, and how we can courageously create profound impact individually and collectively by speaking up from a heart-centered place. Thanks for joining me here. I hope it helps you heal and empowers you to use your voice in a more authentic way. Let's start with Mad Dash. How did you hear of it? Why did you want to sign up for it? What is it?
What is it? I mean, I believe I heard of it from my Rochester friend, theatrical friend, Harold Taddy, who runs the Velvet Noose. And because he knows we're leaning to move into Rochester area, and I have an interest in reaching beyond. And I also heard that Buffalo had a great theater scene. So he sent me this link, I believe. And I'm very spontaneous about responding to something I like. I didn't even question it. I'd never done a 48, 24-hour anything, I don't think. So I just applied and had no idea what would happen. And then when Marissa said you're in, I had to stop for a minute and try to remember what it was I applied for.
Right.
Which is how I go through things. So that's how I got there. It was just kind of random spontaneity, but I'm always putting myself into this orbit and circle of creative endeavors. I was just always like hurling myself out. Yeah, so that's it. And still had no idea what to expect. So, we came up to Rochester and I came up with an open mind. The biggest hurdle for me, or the biggest challenge, was, staying up after 10 o'clock because I'm such an early riser.
I mean, you were up at 3:45 that day, you said, doing edits. Yeah. So it's similar for me. I know Buffalo is a theater community. I did a lot of theater here when I was in high school. And since I've been back in Buffalo, wanted to meet, just get involved again and just get on stage and not have to ask for permission, which I mean by auditioning, ask for permission and then be put into a certain role. I was like, wait, this is perfect. 24 hours, we write the thing, we rehearse it, we get on stage, and then we're done with it. That's exactly the formula I'm looking for. I get a little piece of the stage, the creativity involved in getting on the stage, and then I get to meet a whole bunch of people. Like all the theater people will come out, and low stakes, high reward kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much my motivation for participating as well. Like I don't like competition. I don't genuinely like or generally like collaborations. So I have to constantly work towards that as presenting my work for someone else to perform. So it was a conscious choice for me to give you guys the script and say, have at it, do what you want. I mean, I'm also incredibly decisive and not at all territorial.
Yeah. I recognize that about you in process. It's funny you say that because when we were first assigned to each other, none of us knew each other. And I wondered, are there going to be certain individuals on the team who are very possessive of their ideas? And I found that not to be the case at all between the four of us.
Yeah, it's very refreshing.
Truly. But you specifically, you kept surprising me. And in that moment that you're like, yeah, you know what, girls, here's the script. I had my hand out it and whatever you do. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to surprise Dad at the performance with all of our edits.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Even that last line, the ending line, switching it from talking to Siri to talking to ChatGPT was, who said that? I think it was Julie. Right towards the end of our rehearsing, we were almost wrapping up, and she was like, it's a little outdated almost to talk to Siri. And I'm like, oh gosh.
I mean, so about that, I think I recognize that, and it's possible that I even entertained something like Chat or Claude, which is one that's working now. Claude, do you know Claude?
I haven't even heard of it. Future's happening too fast.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I'm old. But one of the
what does that make me?
One of the things, daughter age, one of the things that's important to me in almost every project is the music of the language, like words. So when I struggle to let something go, it's because the music isn't what I would say. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm willing to sort of let go of it. Like I'm, my I'm most successful as a novelist, but my degree's in poetry. And
Mm.
I feel like I attend to every single sentence and paragraph of my novels as if they were poems in the sonic sense. Like I like the music of words. So Siri is much prettier and sounds better coming out
Yep.
of the mouth. It's much more musical than ChatGPT. But I agreed with your choices. So
I'm so similar, by the way. I feel like I have a much more poetic or lyrical tone to my words, especially when I'm writing. And I often have trouble letting go of rhyme or, certain sort of cadence or alliterations
right,
because it just sounds so good.
right.
And then I'm like times three behind the word choice that I use for a specific reason. So I become extra attached to it.
Yep.
But in this moment that we use ChatGPT, although we strayed from the overall prose, would that be like the right use of word for?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
cool. Although we strayed from the overall prose or formula of the thing, it also worked because the meaning of the piece that we created was so. We don't know what we're doing. We're like, as soon
Yeah.
as we think we found a rhythm with something, we don't know what we're doing. And that is the energy of using ChatGPT is
Yeah.
people don't know what they're doing and they're relying on a machine to tell them how to live their lives. So
Yeah,
to end
because
the whole thing with that, it was like an extra commentary, extra button on we're kind of fucked.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. You're going to get this advice. It might not be right. You're never going to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
it's
I like the choice
terrifying.
a lot. I think it definitely made it more contemporary and fleshed it all out.
I nice. Yeah. Oh man, I don't know where to go if we keep I do want to talk to you about AI at some point in this conversation. So maybe we'll just pick that back up
Okay.
later, but the overall, like how the whole thing fleshed out. So it was a very ambiguous piece that we wrote. We had the assignment of a ceremony or ritual that we had to adhere to. And then the only other rule was using the line, we can't stop now.
Great.
Fantastic, really
Yeah.
juicy prompts.
Like both limiting and expansive.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yeah. But you were, like you said, you're quite a decisive writer. So when we entered into our post Mad Dash call as a team to
Yeah.
start beginning the writing process, you were already like things were already shaping and forming and
Yeah.
almost just like, are you guys good? Can I go do my thing now? I'm here on the team. I'm on a team, but can I go do my thing
Yeah.
now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what was happening in my brain. Exactly.
But we're just like we don't have anything specific, so like go go like a baton passing in a marathon race.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
were right out the gate. How are you so decisive in your writing?
Well, I mean, that's practice. That
Mm.
is habituated practice, sort of, almost a Zen-like practice. You sort of come back to open and follow the open. Um, it's it's the way that I learned to teach my classes. First of all, like in the moment, experiential, very little homework. You make work by prompts or directions that I nudge you. I kept them off balance and surprised. And what came out was always kind of energized and fun. And I told them, I taught for 20 years. I taught at Penn State University for 20 years. I'm very tired of 18, 19 to 25-year-old brains in development. I'm all done with that, but it was fun. And I I made my way of teaching in a way that energized them, in a way that kept it fresh and fun for them, but in a way that also protected all of my creative energy. Like by the time, for the last 5 years, I never made class plans. I just would go in and maybe sometimes have an idea on the way to class or be triggered by something that someone says. So I have kind of cultivated and find myself really productive in uncertainty or unknown.
Mm.
Moment is just it's just fun. It's where I like to be. Uh, the flip side is that I'm very decisive sometimes to a fault. Like I'll just kind of charge ahead because I want to get to the next thing. Uh, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I've also cultivated just not caring about results. I just like to be there in the moment, and whatever happens, happens.
Wow.
That's what
Gold.
makes it easy to let go, because I don't genuinely, and not in a, like, not indifference, not something like, I genuinely don't care about most results of anything that I do. Right. And because of that, I make some really good stuff and some really shitty stuff. But I often can't tell the difference, and I don't care about that either.
What informs that lack of judgment and then also just not caring the results?
I mean, but it's not caring, and I don't mean that in cavalier way, like not caring in kind of the Zen way, like just on this path. Like if I get roped into caring about this moment, there are already like 50 more moments ahead of me. I'm just not doing that. I'm more productive and more engaged in the world, in my life, in a state of making, not in a state of, did I do that right, or I hope somebody likes it.
Mm,
That makes sense.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, it's practice. It's like I've been cultivating this brain garden for decades.
So in the writing room, especially at the beginning of morphing something, of when we were conjuring the whole idea, the premise, and even when you left our team call to go off and write the first draft, you didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't seem like you had much more fleshed out other than you
No,
knew you wanted to create a lot of movement on stage, like an in and out. You wanted it to be a ceremony without ever saying it was a ceremony.
that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The driving thing.
And then you knew you had three women
Yeah.
to work with as your actors. Um, is that it? Did you have anything else that you?
No, but you guys, in the vein of what we were just talking about, I'm because, oh, there's a beautiful sparrow outside my window.
Mm,
Because I'm kind of always in this kind of state of receptivity. It's a subconscious thing. So one of you said something about accents. It was you, or both of you said something about, it's like right away. Okay, so everything that stood out to me in that first conversation, I just made the note, knowing that it would immediately get sort of enveloped and evolve.
folded in.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
and knowing that the direction I would go after that would be informed by what I just put down.
And then, of course, decades of working with characters and like foiling and contrast, like so that there was enough of a like I didn't realize it until after really reflecting on the thing that we had just performed. But I'm like, wow, we had a character that like a really bold and leading character. We had the person that it was just all different versions of the psyche. We
Yeah,
had the
yeah,
person that didn't really care but was like the most grounded, and then we had the person that was freaking out.
yes.
Like three amazing aspects of society, but that did that just come out of you as you were writing, or was that something that as you sat down you were like, okay, let me structure it in this way?
Um, I don't even know if I can answer that question. I have also been a theater goer for decades, so I love theater. So not only do
Mm,
I write big books and read novels and read poetry, I love watching theater, good theater, bad theater. Like, so I have I've just kind of taken in theatrical device and the things that I know energize a moment. They're just kind of second nature. So I don't often have to sit and like plot it out consciously like that.
mm,
I know, as a painter, as a noisemaker, as a word person, I know uh, that juxtaposition and difference energize any moment. Like energize a painting, it can energize a song or a sound, it can energize something on stage. So anytime you've got something different, it's a point of energy. And, you know, that's what we want to do. We want to stay energized. We want to keep the audience, the reader, the viewer interested from the opening to the closing.
hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
So,
sense.
so I don't really think about it. It just came to me because that's what's in my head.
Hmm. Okay. Mysterious. Revealing and mysterious at the same time.
It is. That's how it should be. Like, I don't know. Did you ever see a movie? Did you ever see Shakespeare in Love?
don't know what I did.
I think Ray Fiennes plays,
Yeah, I've
or
definitely
the
seen
younger
clips.
Fiennes, not Ray Fiennes, the younger brother plays Shakespeare. But the point is that it's about the theatrical troupe and the struggle and how things never going to work. And this actor named Jeffrey Rush, who's the stage manager, the theater manager, is brilliant. And he's got this repeated line when someone's like holding him up against the wall saying, "Where's the money? What are you going to do?" And he said, "It's going to work out." And they said, "How?" And he said, "I don't know. It just always does."
Yeah.
So that's kind
Nice
of,
reference.
that's it. It's going to work out.
That's what the whole process felt like with our team. And
Yeah.
it was I mean, from my perspective as an actor, and I mean, I naturally took my leadership role of kind of guiding the troops, but even in that, it was constantly, I'm not the boss here. Like other people should and can have their own say, and what if my idea that I said isn't the best idea?
Yeah.
Over and over, and then even witnessing Julie and Lauren, thank you, in the rehearsal process, how each of us showed up. Like, I need to walk and move my body when I'm memorizing lines. Julie needs to sit there and write it out. Lauren, she needs to make a bagel. She needs to go outside, let the dog out, and then she comes.
Yeah.
We just each had our own process, and Julie is done memorizing everything, and she's having like one cracker, and I just came in from a walk, and I have 3 other ideas I want to talk about. And Lauren I don't even know where Lauren was. And I'm like, another moment where I'm like, Lauren's in her process, and we're all going to get on that stage at the same time, and we're going to be ready. And if I just kept bringing myself back to that. And I'm like, so no matter where Lauren is right now, she's arriving. She's still coming here. And can I just surrender to what I need and just keep saying what I need and trusting that they're meeting me there just as much as I'm meeting them there. And then, I mean, Lauren had no stage experience before.
You had none?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
Definitely not as much as myself and Julie.
That's
And
awesome.
it's awesome. And I mean, you just adore her that much more. Mind you, after the show, I stayed after and had like a couple drinks at the bar with them. And oh my God, Lauren was on one about politics and going so deep. And I'm like, oh, it just made me see her in such a different light, because I'm like, she really isn't an actor. She really is the epitome of just like, try something just to try it and not care about what it looks like or if it's good or if it's perfect. And, then I'm there like, this is my career and I have a headshot and like, I mean, just different doors of entrance to the same stage.
Yeah, that's incredible. I didn't know that she had no experience, and I liked that. And I also, was it somebody in our group after the fact said that we were the only group that didn't know each other.
Oh,
So I don't, that must not have been you. Like it was either Lauren or Julie said that we were the only group that didn't have any previous connection and didn't know each other at all.
oh, wow.
We kicked ass.
Yeah, I think so. That was part of my hesitance when I signed up. I was much like you, where I was like, I saw the thing and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do this. Signed up, totally forgot about it. Got an email and I was like, why do I keep getting spam? Oh, I signed up for the spam. And then, but even in that, of being put on the team and seeing the names, and when we were initially emailing, just trusting, like, I'm put in this group with these people for a reason. Can I keep trusting that? Can I really remove judgment? I mean, like, oh, this person doesn't have this, or this person is that, or, can I really remove all of that and just show up? And very similar to your writing process.
I don't think, well, back to like taking care of your needs, taking care of my needs. I realized after the fact that I didn't need to be at the rehearsal process. That
worked out
like,
so
much. Just like I need to step out for your sake and for my sake. I don't need to know what's happening. I like to be surprised. I also don't really believe in failure in that way. I think whatever happens is okay.
You were really, I mean, it was so obviously, you know yourself really well as a creative, and your schedule and whatnot. That was really helpful in the writing process, just to adhere to, like, it kind of hit that 10 p.m. on our first read on that Friday night. And I was just like, oh, we're all kind of shutting down, and that's okay. Let's honor the bodies and just wake up and do it fresh tomorrow instead of pushing. That felt really good too.
That reminds me of what I wanted to say though. Like you were like taking the sort of logistical leadership role. That was very appreciated, because that's distracting for me, for like it was very necessary, and you're focused and clear, and I appreciated that. Like,
oh, thanks.
I don't know. I think we would have come up with something good without, we didn't have to think about that, because you did. We didn't have to think about
Yeah.
anything because you did that part, so we did that part. Like one of the fun challenges. I mean, I've written a play for a character that a creature that a presence in my house called Despondent Man. Despondent Man is uh, he's a mannequin, but he has great presence. I'll send you the link for Despondent Man. Despondent Man
I
is
would love to. It sounds a little Edgar Allan Poe-y.
it's not so, but it's uncanny for sure.
Okay,
Um,
great.
it is it is a project that may be lifelong. It is a collaborative project between me and Despondent Man and anyone who contributes to his suitcase. And he has a PO box. And I'll send you a link.
Please.
So I've written a play in which Despondent Man, as this figure, was the character, the main character, and some other people were coming and going. But I'd never written with specific bodies in mind, like three people. Like you three were different
Mhm.
people. Like I had to envision you humans doing something. So that was an interesting experience for me. I didn't know how that was going to happen. And I think the tweaks and changes you guys made reflected that all of you, except for maybe Lauren, understood better how bodies moved on the stage. And I was grateful for that.
Same, by the way. I mean, a majority of my acting career has been in a closet. It's been in a voiceover booth, and if not there, then on camera, and then some theater. But Julie's pretty fresh off the stage, so I really valued her feedback when we were in the rehearsal process of staging and blocking and let's go here. But we all took turns kind of passing the director role, which was
Yeah.
really interesting. We didn't have an assigned director like other groups. I felt like I was becoming a better leader and follower, which is now I'm just thinking of the moment when we were on stage, dancing around the candle,
Yeah.
dancing, and that is kind of what it was. We were constantly in this energy of who's leading, you're leading, I'm following you, I don't know who's the leader and who's the follower, but we're all moving in the same direction. It was beautifully symbolic of our whole process,
Yeah.
even though we were having a completely different conversation on stage.
Yeah. No, I really liked the outcome. And all of that, I agree with what you just said. And also, it makes me believe even more fully that I'm just not a performer, and I don't really want to be a performer, sort of.
Yeah, yeah. When you were like, I'm not gonna come to the rehearsals, it something like, can I tell you something actually? I almost quit. After our Monday Zoom, so when we had the initial meet and greet before the whole mad dash, after that call, because I was already kind of on the fence, and after that call, I was just like, I feel exhausted.
Yeah.
I feel exhausted.
Yeah.
And because there's part of a leadership where it's like, I need reciprocity as well. And if
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the only one pulling the whole cart
Yeah.
and I'm the energy and the motivator, I get drained so fast. So
Yeah.
after that call, I was just like, I know how I feel today. Let me wake up tomorrow and see how I feel again. You had sent an email, but I didn't read it. And then the next day, I wrote an email to Mad Dash. I sent it on a schedule. Like I sent it to go out like 24 hours later. And then I read your email and I'm responding to your email. Yeah, let's do this on Friday and let's do this. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing it. Like I just canceled, but I'm like still doing the thing. And then I canceled the scheduled email. And I'm like, this is my work of not like running away from the thing that scares me a little bit and just leaning in and trusting the process. Just everything about the Mad Dash experience was like, it was its own ceremony.
Its own mad dash ceremony. Yeah. I mean, it makes me like I liked it so much that I think there's a version of that happens at the Rochester Fringe Festival.
Oh,
So I might pitch another thing there.
oh, I love that. Keep me posted on
Okay.
that.
Because I might be looking for actors.
Oh, I might know some. Fantastic. Yeah, I've only ever done the 48-hour film fest. So doing something like that I actually much preferred it in the theater context.
Yeah.
It felt less stressful and maybe it was just the luck of the draw of our group, but there was no peacocking, which was
Yeah.
so refreshing. There's no peacocking. When my voiceover career took off and I dipped into a niche of acting where everyone was so much more grounded, down to earth, or you just don't really see anyone else.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I found it. I could make a bunch of money and be in the union and be an actor and work with incredible clients, and I don't have to deal with any of that. Yes, please.
I'm hoping that this shift into the puppet world will be something like that. The actors will be hiding behind their puppets.
Well, I will just say, like, people are people wherever you go, and it's really just a thing of ego. But where it becomes like glorified in the acting world is where fame becomes involved and exposure, and it's just heightened. Like there's more eyes on you, there's
Yeah.
more attention. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for validation, it's just like the wounds become really loud.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I say all those things also aware that like I'm watching some of these kids like come in and discover something deep inside themselves and deep potential and recognizing how they can take what damaged or shaped them and make it something like I value all of that stuff, value
Mm.
all that stuff. And I'm grateful that there are good theater teachers who can pull it out of them and put it on stage, in which I don't have to be a part of.
Heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about retiring from teaching for a couple decades and wanting to move into puppeteering.
It's a friend of mine, I was telling this the other day, and he pointed out that my obsessive pattern is like increments of 5 years. I tend to get a new obsession or a new bee in my bonnet every 5 years and want to do something different. And even while teaching, I did things like that. I went through a whole spate of like banjo synthesizer stuff and making strange Vimeo videos, and it's a very proactive brain. And most of it might be nonsense, but I don't really care. Um, and in the same way that I've been watching theater for decades, been intrigued by puppetry. I mean, I remember trying to make a marionette in graduate school, but it was just a half-ass attempt, and I didn't really get anything done. So I've just been intrigued by that kind of thing, and I remember seeing like the moment stands out. I remember moments stand out. I remember seeing Porgy and Bess as a marionette show, and I'd never seen anything like that. And I thought this is very cool. But that was also 30 years ago, and just little nudges toward poetry sort of came my way. And I've been going to the Chicago International Puppet Festival for about 5 years. And I mean, it is truly international, like world class, really serious and really goofy, all kinds of puppetry come to Chicago in the dead of winter. So it's cheap to stay there because it's 3 degrees below zero. But I see such powerful stuff, like funny and sad and poignant and breathtaking, all this stuff. And this past year, I went with a philosopher friend of mine who they're moving to Chicago. So I wanted to kind of introduce them to some cool stuff. And this performance was called La Meridian, like the Meridian. And the trick was you had to buy your tickets, but you wouldn't know where the performance was being held until about a week before. And it was limited to 12 people. And it was going to be a dinner, like a private dinner for 12 people. And when we got there, we learned that it's got this family style dinner, and one at a time, you'd be taken into this little curtained off area, and then allowed into an inner chamber and see a 3-minute performance just for you. You sit in this chair and see this performance, and you weren't allowed to talk about it until everybody had seen it.
Oh.
And then after the fact, first, and the food was fabulous, and I'm a huge foodie. The puppeteer came out and was talking and like kind of explaining thing, and I heard the words "lambe lambe." I'd never heard it before, and it's the kind of thing that bores into my brain and stays. So I did some research, and Teatro Lambe Lambe is from a Brazilian, like 1970s couple of people, little performances meant for audiences of one on tripods, like at festivals and stuff. Like, you put a drape on, it's like the street photographers of ye olden days, where they drape themselves in black, and the viewer leans in and sees a little show. So I started deep dive researching, and there's lots of it in South America and Mexico. More and more I'm learning there's some of it here. Your friend Gerard is very excited to participate in this thing.
Yay,
So I made a
happy to hear
pitch like I did with Mad Dash. I made a pitch to the Rochester Fringe Festival, and I call it small talk theater. There's going to be as many boxes as I can get together, and for 5 hours on a Saturday, we're going to do this. And they said yes. I haven't made a box. Didn't know anybody doing it.
You have the blueprint.
I have the blueprint. So I mean, I've already started. It's an energized idea. I can tell. I can tell when I have an idea that's got a lot of energy, so I pursue those heavily. I mean, it's the same kind of energy that my good novels, my first novel especially, is still alive and in print after 30 years. It's in just a couple weeks ago. I learned it's going to be in Turkish translation. It's got 8 translations. I mean, it is the book that made my life. Yeah, it's the book that made my life, and it came to me in the way that good ideas come. So, and I didn't tell you anything about this, did I?
No, but that's where I definitely want to ask you next. So lean in, please.
So the book is called The Minotaur Takes a Cigarette Break. And it's not a fantasy at all, but it is the literal Minotaur with horns and a bull's head and snout. And he is cooking at a steakhouse in the American South circa 1991 and trying to find a girlfriend. And this book, it took me months, maybe even years, to find a publisher. And when I finally did, it was a small regional publisher in North Carolina. But when it came out, it was in like USA Today and Newsweek and all over the Times for weeks. And it made a major splash. 8 languages then, and now another. I have seen the contract language on a Disney Pixar film project about how much I would get for little Minotaur figures, and then it all went up in Hollywood smoke. So it was energized, but I don't know where that idea came from, because I never read fantasy, never did read fantasy. At that time, I had just turned 31, and I was walking across the Iowa River on a bridge, having nude modeled for 3 hours. So I was bored and sore. And the title just fell into my head. The Minotaur Takes a Cigarette Break fell into my head. So by the end of the bridge, I had the premise. This guy's going to be working at a Holiday Inn and punching holes in the pots with his horns. And the poem got a lot of workshop attention, got published. It's indirectly got me my first wife. Indirectly. But then we were married with our baby. She's 29 now, and flying from Chicago to Philadelphia. And I was half asleep on the airplane, and I thought, I can make that a novel. And I did. And it took me a long, long time to get it published.
What's a long, well, how long did it take you to write it from poem to novel, and then the timeline of getting it published?
Well, the poem is done by the day, and then I just forgot about it. I'm pretty sure I wrote other Minotaur poems, but I really don't remember. And then once I decided I'm going to write this book as a novel, less than 2 years. Like when I drive through an idea, I'm very decisive, so I just go and I finish it. And then the kind of energy required to push it into publication, I had to sustain that for a long time. How did we get there? I don't even know why we're talking about this. I would say that kind of recognizing what takes energy and how much energy it takes and what I would rather be doing is one of the reasons that, I'm kind of backing away from writing a novel right now, because it's not so interesting.
Not giving you energy. Yeah. That's kind of what you're saying, that you like in your 5-year cycles and you kind of follow what is pulling your energy, like what your greatest excitement is another way of saying it.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was partway through a novel. I got 2 rejections for this novel that I thought were going to be good. So I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna do something else. Yeah. And I have enough of a literary footprint in the world. I've got other books that got some acclaim. I don't really care.
What is that for you? That's so rare and refreshing. Why don't you care? And again, I know we kind of, I'd asked you about this, but maybe I'm still not gathering the answer, but is it more about just putting the thing out there? Like just the journey of creativity for you than it is about the acclaim at the end of it or where it goes?
All of that, because of
Yeah.
the success of that first book, like pumped up my ego and my, talk about peacocking. Like I felt like I was invincible. And then my second book, which was nominated by Random House for the Pulitzer Prize, it didn't get it, but it was nominated, got great reviews. Like it just tanked. It didn't sell anything. So I had this huge ego, and then, this humbling smackdown, and it was an incredibly instructive experience. Like I've had enough now of, you've got this idea what publicity, publication, attention is going to be, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But none of that is the making of the work. None of it.
Yeah.
So I've had so much of both good and bad experiences that I'm indifferent to that and recognize that I'm most grounded at home in the world, my world, making stuff. It's just easy to let go. Like I just,
There it is.
I use the word blessed, and I'm not a believer of anything like that. Lucky, I would say lucky, but I put myself in the crosshairs of luck always, right? You get shot with luck because you're standing right there in the darts. I was very lucky with that first book, and with, like, I was able to recognize how to make the most of what I had. Like I chose to teach at a slightly smaller Penn State campus because I was a big man, big fish in a small pond, and I could do exactly what I wanted. I recognized that I didn't want the acclaim I didn't need that big exposure of the main campus. I just didn't care about that stuff because it's all distracting. And in almost every circumstance or decision I had to make, it was informed first through, like, is this okay for my kid? And then how does this impact my creative energy? Like that's forever that has been, what is this decision going to mean for my creative energy? Every move from one place to another, every kind of interaction with things, people, situations, like how is this going to impact what I'm doing? And that I always protected that.
Thanks.
And I protected it to the point that now it's just like second nature. Like I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's so funny. I'm in a similar place. And when our team first got together, I was like, why these people at this time? I'm huge on energy attracts. So, where I am within myself, like why these people at this time. So this is really revealing. But where you're talking about your first novel feels like my success story with L'Oreal, and doing all those commercials, and I was paid really well and had even a claim. Oh, you're the voice of L'Oreal for many years. And then, when they recast, the complete opposite, but I'm still the same actor. Yeah. I'm still just as talented. I'm still just as awesome. And I'm still just as late to things and a little bit balloon in the sky. I'm still the same person. And can I be just as successful inside of other things? And have also felt like the low and low opposite of that. And then, really just, especially this year, like really in the last few months, I feel like I've come to more of a place of neutrality and indifference that you're talking about. Like, Steve, even last week, I got cast in a TV show here in Buffalo, and that's awesome. And I was like, I got the text, and I was like, oh, cool.
Fun. Yeah.
And then I was like, what am I going to have for dinner?
Exactly.
Yeah, like and I almost felt more excited that I had a fridge full of groceries than I did about this thing. Because to me, I'm like, okay, so maybe the director will call me next week. Maybe we'll record the thing in July. Maybe it will come out this time next year. And then I'm just like, great. I'm not going to cling to those highs. I can't wait for that day. I'm so grateful. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to knock it out of the park. And also, I'm right here right now.
Hungry. Making a sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like gonna go get cuddled up in my chair and read my books and yeah, I mean ultimately what we're talking about is staying really present and not
Yes.
letting like the highs and the lows of life to rock you, but staying neutral or at your word indifferent to it because it is high, it is low, and you are in the center of it. So the most like the nectar from all of that, like the juice of that fruit is in the present moment.
I mean, it's a like a mindfulness kind of practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that too. I hear that too. Okay, thanks for
What else? What else
that.
you want to talk about?
What else are we? Well, I'm really curious. Um, yeah, especially that you have been had a front row seat to the minds of 18 to 25-year-olds for a couple of decades and reading all of their papers and I'm curious the impact of technology on all of that over the course of the few years. I mean, I know there's the obvious stuff, but really something that I've been thinking about is the impact of it just seems a little daunting. Hold on, there's a lot of thoughts I'm having very quickly, so let me work through them. I've seen the impact of how just Googling something takes us out of the library and how
Yeah.
that impacts a research paper. I've also seen like the reliance of just Google it and like, but you can't just call that off the top of your head. But now
Right.
we're in like an exponential curve and not in a good way of that really hurting our way of thinking and our reliance on technology.
Yeah.
And what's really spinning this off even harder in the last few days for me is I started reading articles of people that have committed suicide from an overuse of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And if they haven't gone as far as suicide, they've reached a state of psychosis.
Yeah.
And it's really terrifying. That was an article I read in Psychology Today, just to give it some legitimacy. That's so terrifying on a different level. And also where I would love to bring this conversation to you because you've had, such, like I said, a front row seat to to people's psyches.
The extreme examples are extreme and terrifying. But that doesn't take into account the thousands and thousands of people who basically just like fuck up relationships, family relationships because of interaction with ChatGPT and online obsessive addictive behavior. Like I got out of so this is the end of my second year as retired, and really I was working hard in the classroom. By the time I retired, I was only teaching creative writing, so I didn't have to do research papers. I just avoided all of that stuff, and I saw my colleagues suffer from the struggle of, is this plagiarized or chat GPT or whatever? Like it's just nobody knows the answer to that. And it is only getting worse. And my wife is a teacher now at the main campus, and she's having the same struggle deeply. And, in my kind of classroom process procedure, I made as much like in class writing with pen, writing with pencil, hands-on stuff. Like I made that as much as possible the focus to avoid all of that, knowing full well that some kids were going to go out and do the chat GPT stuff anyway. And I had to, and again, it's my ability to let go. Like I can't teach to those kids. All right, here, so I'll step way back. Uh, I retired Professor Steve, but I'm also a high school dropout with like an arrest record. Like I was a mess. I was a teenage fuck up. I was
I love it.
stoned watching Gilligan's Island for decades, for a long time. Like I didn't get anything like focus until I was mid late 20s, which is when the prefrontal lobe comes in, right? But I had no support. Like nobody in my family went to school. I was a mystery to both myself and them. Like they didn't understand what I was all about, and I didn't. So I just got high and drunk all the time. Um, but it was like paying attention to my creative energy, however nascent, however kind of cloudy what that meant. I didn't know it at the time, but that's what grounded me and nudged me forward each time. Like uh, um, the very first poem, like all right. You want this long story?
I sure do. I'm here
Uh,
for it. I already poured some more chicory.
so completely a wreck. Dropped out of high school, couldn't keep a job, didn't want a job, wanted only to get high. But I signed up at a community college for a welding program, and I loved it. Like I really liked doing well at this welding program, and making stuff. I made a boat, an aluminum boat. I'm also slightly terrified of water, and I'm always after the thing that scares me. Um, but while taking this class, I took a while taking the welding program, I took a creative writing class. No, it wasn't. It was a club. I joined the creative writing club. Like this was how goofy I was. I would go to the cafeteria with welding rods in my back pocket, because I thought the girls would think it was hot. I don't,
Sure
I don't think it ever worked. I don't think it ever worked. But I joined this creative writing club, and the very first poem I ever wrote in my life was about getting my tattoo when I was 16 years old, and it was published in the local newspaper. So it was like validation, right? Sent me on my way. It was years and years after that. The whole time I was in the welding program, I cooked to earn a living. So then I decided I wanted to be a chef, and I spent a lot of years wanting to do that. And I'm actually an incredibly good cook.
I believe it.
And spent some time, in professional kitchens, but also just drinking and drugging. And so I had 4 DUIs. I had to go to like baby jail for 2 weeks. I had to go to a treatment center for a month. And then there's this kind of natural trajectory from people who come out of that kind of crisis into wanting to be therapists and counselors, right? So I wanted to be a social worker. So I went to another community college. I was probably 24 at the time, maybe 25. But I also took an English class, a creative writing class. And that's the one that redirected me. Like I got validation for the stuff I wrote. I ended up going to the university, transferring with an English degree. And then in the end, my graduate degree is from this place called the Iowa Writers Workshop, which has a legend of being the best. I mean, I was a terrible student there, but it informed the rest of my life. So when I'm in my classes, I'm bringing this back to what you were talking about. For the whole time that I was in my classes at Penn State Altoona, because I recognized that this is not the main campus. Many of these kids are first generation college students. Many of these kids are terrified, don't know what they want to do. I always taught to the kid that I was. Like I always tried to reach the insecure, doubtful, scared, confused person. And I got really good at that. And I never cared about grades at all, never cared about their grades. So over time, I got better at recognizing those kids and just giving very little attention to some smartass who's going to come in and use ChatGTP or whatever. Like, if you're not going to invest in my class, okay, and I didn't punish them. Like, I'd still give them like B, or I don't care about grades. Like, it takes a lifetime of dedication to do anything well, and to be a writer, to be an artist. That takes an extra kind of dedication in my mind, and most people just aren't going to do that. I'm not going to say can't. I'm going to say they won't do that because it takes too much. You got to sacrifice too much. So I'm not going to give my energy in the classroom to people who are just there for, a gen ed credit. So it's just another form of letting go, not out of like punitive punishment. It's like, okay, you do that, I'm going to be here. So, and now I don't have to deal with ChatGPT at all. Ever.
Do you have rules for yourself using it?
I mean, I ask stuff all the time. I never ever use it. I never use it in a literary sense. I mean, I can frequently kind of get some research question answered or something, or I mean, I use it. What's the way to answer this question? It can be beneficial. It's a beneficial tool in lots of ways. I mean, like this, the easy, right? The quickest example. So I'm a painter, but I never took classes. So, the other day I was thinking, what's the right color mix to make a shadow on an orange thing? So I just asked ChatGPT, and it gives me all these options, multiple options. So for those kind of basic technical stuff, all the time. but never anything generative.
Yeah. Thanks for protecting your creativity. I've said a couple of things about ChatGPT. One, in terms of creatives, one is I want to be the creative that chat comes to as a reference.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I said it to my friend over the weekend, is, AI is, it's all the same. It just takes different form. And it really is about our relationship to the thing. So what could be AI could be an overuse of coffee. It could be an overuse of phoning a friend. Could be an overuse. So it's really just your balance with the thing. So of course people are going to be hitting psychosis and suicide using ChatGPT because like anything, like you said, there are extremes of that. And it's really about your control over the relationship. But actually brings us back to more of a conversation of sovereignty and how we are showing up in the thing and allowing ourselves to be to surrender, to let go, or how much we're abusing it. And it's up to us how much we're in control of that. It's so easy to just open a window and ask chat. But can you sit with being bored and have an idea about a poem that will turn into a novel come to you?
I mean, that's the terrifying thing, because it's hitting strongest right now with kids who don't have that cognitive development happening yet. So like the power and importance of boredom is significant. Like there's no, if you're not sitting empty for a moment, I don't even know. Like it's just too much to think about. You know, my oldest kid, or my youngest kid, is an incredible visual artist. Like she's got this strong hand and good solid eye. So she can draw incredibly well, but she also believes in shortcuts. Like if she's in a hurry and what she wants to do is color this thing but doesn't want to draw it, she's not opposed to tracing it out. Right. And her art teacher, who doesn't really like her because she's annoying like I am, saw her tracing something on a light box and said, real artists wouldn't do that. Which Esme is strong enough in herself that she's like, fuck you. She didn't say that, but she's strong enough in herself that didn't. But there's the entire history of the camera obscura where Vermeer and all these people used a tracing box. Like for this teacher to say something like that, I mean, I think I'm just bringing this around to like AI is a technology that we can use well.
It's a tool.
Yeah, but kids can't use it well yet because kids can't do anything well yet.
Yeah. Well, two things on that. One, I was talking to a public school therapist a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how the thing that he comes up against the most in the hallways is actually is the physical brain of these kids is underdeveloped because of the dependence on screens. So there's that part of it. Like you could talk about prefrontal cortex not developing until you're 25, but if in your youth, in your single digit years, you're so reliant on screens that you don't go outside and touch the trees, and you don't learn how to emotionally regulate, you don't learn how to be bored and learn how to play, you're really screwing yourself up later down the road in a structural way. Not just because you're lazy or you had bad parents. It's the screens. There's a reason.
It's literally the wiring. Like the
yes. That's what the therapist was explaining to me, and I was like, that can't be. And then it came up in a couple of the conversations with different people since then, and I'm like, oh, this is a epidemic. This is a real series. This is why the CEOs of these major tech companies never allow their children to have iPads. Yeah. So there's that front. And then there's something else that you said that brings to question is, what is a real artist? If the teacher has a really strong opinion and strong definition and maybe to their own, if you have to draw imagine if the original Disney animations, we were still creating every single by hand, we wouldn't not have we wouldn't have Pixar.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when I can step back and not be mad at the teacher or any kind of comment that comes my way like that, they are some if they are most of the time rooted in sort of an insecurity. Like
Yeah.
anytime you have to say this is the only way, you're doubtful about something in yourself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I try. I
I,
mean, I can be annoyed in the moment, and then I try to step back. And one of the things I also try to let go is anger and annoyance, because anytime you're mad at somebody, they have power over you.
Huge. Also for me, judgment. I would just add to that, like same on everything you said, and also judgment. Can I really remove my like, oh, it should be like this or ew,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
can I pull it back and see what's the ew in me, and what if it's not ew? What if they belong here and get to sit here and receive just as much love, attention, and time as I
yeah,
do? And
yeah,
what can happen then? I mean, that's just coming back to our mad dash team. Can I take away the you don't have this resume or you haven't done this, and can I
right,
remove all of that? And which I mostly don't have that or lead with that, but it comes through in moments, and it's just an invitation to nope. Yep, sit down. But Kendrick Lamar has a song, and it always comes to me as like, "Bitch, sit down, be humble," and it is that. Just sit down, be humble,
yeah,
let something else happen here, and that's also beautiful. That
yeah,
also gets its moment to shine. And anything that I'm coming up against that, if I'm like, oh, that's not a me thing, that's a you thing, then it really offers a space for compassion to come in. I'm like,
right,
oh, you're stuck on like what you think a real artist is, and you're limiting yourself and your own creative
right,
potential and ability in a way that I don't feel that limitation.
yeah,
So
yeah,
really, it's like a bucking heads of personal freedom in a
yep,
sense.
yep. No, I agree.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay that you left to go to bed after the play now, because I feel like we did have the conversation. Oh man. What else would you add that you haven't said already, and to build off of what's already been laid out, just about the development of your voice over the years? I mean, we've hit on it in many indirect ways, but to give a
Yeah,
bit more of a spotlight to it.
I like this notion of voice. I mean, I would talk with my kids, my students, about the writing voice. I mean, I think you probably have this experience with either a song or musicians or something that you read, or a visual art, where even if you have never heard this piece of music or have never seen this painting or have never read these words, something about its composition and its energy, you can say that belongs to Kendrick Lamar, or that belongs to that person. That person made that, right?
Mm.
The voice. So I apply this word voice to uh, uh, lots of modes of making, visual and auditory and literary as well. And I feel like the voice, the thing with my students, you're not going to have a voice at 18 years old. You have the baby nugget of a voice, a little zygote of a voice, and it's legitimate, but you haven't had enough life to really have a nuanced voice. So I would just keep trying to push them, like make them imitate somebody else or make them do something different to kind of expand the possibilities of voice before they laid claim. And I feel like that's what I did as a maker. I um, tried out voraciously anything new that came my way, as far as a style and a mode and a way of doing, like I want to do this. And so I did it as hard as I could. And sometimes you leave some of it behind, and sometimes you carry a little bit of it with you. And what you carry with you, the it amalgamates into everything else you're carrying. So that's the development of the voice in my mind. So I feel like, and I'm sure this is written down in every essay I've ever written about myself, my paintings are like my words, are like my songs. Like it's just all the same stuff.
Your
Um,
style, in a sense.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm.
But the literal voice is a thing that I've been grappling with and fighting and chasing for a long time. So um, maybe I'm going to have to go way back. So I grew up in this little southern redneck church, uh, and went to church every Sunday and sometimes on Wednesdays.
Where was that, by the way?
North Carolina,
Ah.
rural North Carolina. Um, and, you know, I was never once asked or made to pick up a hymn book and sing, ever. Never encouraged or even discouraged. It just wasn't, I just didn't do it. but everybody around me was singing with these hymn books. Like I can recall so many. I know all these old hymns. Like I'm not only an atheist, I'm an anti-theist. Believe in the I believe that religion has done more damage than good. So I don't hold that. But I love those old hymns. Like I really love those old hymns sonically. And I can just close my eyes and I can hear Charlie Ballard singing off-key bass, like right behind me, and this man named Parks right over. Like I can just hear all that stuff. So music and singing has always been really important, but I was never encouraged, or maybe it felt like allowed, but I was just never encouraged. And I always, as I grew up, I wanted to sing, but I was too shy. Like I would never open my mouth. I was a shy kid anyway. I was like I wouldn't do things in public, but would never sing, ever, 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 and wanted to. My brother had a great voice. He wouldn't sing in public either, but he had a great voice. I didn't even know that about myself. And then, like, becoming a writer, thinking of myself as a writer in college as a young dude, I got comfortable reading my work aloud and understanding that there's music there also. So hearing the music of language also informs. So when I write for meaning and music and nuance. Like it's layered. It's not ever just one thing, but music is always there. The music of the words.
Would you say that comes through in like the poetic nature of
Yep.
your writing?
Yep. And then, it was maybe 15 years ago. Oh no, 20 years ago, because my wife and I, current best right wife, were just together, and we watched this movie called Cold Mountain. Do you know that movie?
I've heard of it.
Um, Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's based on a book. It's kind of the Odyssey set in the Civil War in the South, and beautifully filmed. And there were two scenes in that movie in which Nicole Kidman and the rest of the actors sing what is called sacred harp music, sacred harp, or shape note singing, like ancient
Celtic?
working. What?
Is it Celtic?
No, well, your point is interesting because the roots come from over there, over here. It's worship music for working people, four line. I'll send you a link to Shape Note,
I'm
but I'd
curious.
never
I
heard
haven't
it
heard of it.
before.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that you either go, "This is awesome," or "What is that god awful sound?" There's very little middle ground because it's music meant for lay people coming out of the fields, singing, and all about praising their God. And the harmonies,
God, monotheistic.
absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. However, and the harmonies are discordant. It's just weird. It's so weird and beautiful because I love it. Um, there was it was maybe before Cold Mountain. There was a resurgence of shape note singing in the country. Like right now, it's hipsters and urban Jews, and it's the hippie crowds that really love this stuff. So it's very rich. It's still alive, but I'd never heard of it. And I learned that the following week, the first meeting of a shape note group was happening, up the road from me. So I thought, okay, this terrifies me. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
So, but I had to go to the Ramada Inn right before and have a drink of Drambuie. I think I had something. I had a drink of something to calm my nerves. But that took me in. Like shape note is not performative. You sing in a square. You sing at each other. There's no applause. Everybody sings together. I'm just going to send you some links. So
I can't wait.
It is powerful. So I was really into that and got into it and came every week and went to conventions. Eventually it's big. It's like, so Esme is about to turn 18 in utero. She was at a shape note convention in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the top floor of an old railroad station where like 150 people in a square were singing this stuff. So it shaped her life. She doesn't know it yet.
Shape note shaped her.
Yeah.
Did you bring your banjo to those conventions?
No, but there's lots of play. Not that happened. I didn't. I was always scared, kind of a little bit shy to play banjo in public. But there's a lot of overlap between old time music and that shape note stuff. So I was doing that singing, right? But it was always in groups. Um, and I was on a road trip with a friend of mine to do some research on artists in Athens, Georgia. And we went to see this brilliant, recently deceased painter, musician, just man of many talents and weirdnesses. His name's Art Rosenbaum, and he had just recorded a CD of sea shanties with his students. He started the sea shanty group with his students and recorded a CD, and I'd never heard of sea shanties. But he gave us one of the CDs, and I played it all the way home, you know, 8 hours in the car, 10 hours in the car, drove my friend Jerry crazy. And within a week of getting home, I sent an email to the entire listserv at Penn State, at Altoona. Would anybody like to come to a sea shanty party? So at our house, a couple months later, I bet that first gathering, there's probably 75 people at our house just sitting. And I had lyrics. And I said the first thing is like, I've never been on a boat, an ocean. I don't know anything about this. But we're going to sing. And so we kicked off What Shall We Do with a Drunken Sailor? And it became a semi-regular sea shanty party event. And then we became a sea shanty choir called the Allegheny Bilge Rats Shanty Choir, in which I was the leader with black leather pants and goat hooves and bells on my. It was absurd as a guy who doesn't like to sing.
Incredible story.
So that's voice. That's where my voice. But I can't be finished yet. You got to let it go. Like I can't really sing seriously in public. I can't. My wife is a beautiful singer. She tells me I have a good voice, but I can't participate. I just can't participate. Can't get there. Yeah, I mean, the trajectory is a little bit longer than that, but that's it. Like I'm still kind of after the voice. And in The Minotaur Takes a Cigarette Break, written 25 years ago, or almost more, but published 20 years ago, there's a passage that people always comment on in which he is wandering around a junkyard trying to find a piece of a car because he's also a mechanic. And when there's nobody around, he starts to sing, tries to sing. So it's just a poignant moment for him, talking about how he would give away almost anything that he's got to be able to sing. Wow. So the voice I'm after, but I'm also kind of letting it go now. Like I'm letting go this notion of being a musician because I want to be a puppet, and I particularly want to puppeteer little
Musicals?
3-minute. What?
Musicals?
No, but no words. No words, just sound. So anyway, we'll see where it goes.
What? Say more about that. What do you mean no words, sound, but not
For my
necessarily?
little puppet things.
So it's song or it's like
Uh,
nonverbals? Like
both,
gutturals and
both,
primal sounds?
both,
Oh,
all three,
oh. So
several.
communicating without language.
Yes. So my
Wow.
fire for this small talk theater project that I have in mind is to take the breadth and strength of a novel and all those words and all that sound and all that speaking and boil it down to 5 minutes or less and few, if any, words and still have the same impact.
Wow.
And I mean, I have a lot of noise that I make, so I like playing with that also. Like I'm a collector of sounds.
Okay. Always have been?
I've always been interested in sounds, but I think maybe COVID might have, because COVID got so quiet. Like COVID is the thing that was great. Like a project. Do we have time for me to tell you another project?
Absolutely. I don't even know what time it is. Yeah.
During COVID, right at the beginning, I think, I went outside of my house and in the driveway was a freshly dead grackle, a bird, blackbird. And it must have flown into an antenna. I don't know what, because it had a little nick in its throat right there. And there was the brightest, most Hollywood blood red pool right beside of it. Like it was beautiful and terrifying. Well, not terrible, it's beautiful and weird. And I thought, okay, this is a gift from something. And I had been making some sound collections. And because of the way my brain works, I thought, okay, this guy's dead and he's going to decay. And I wonder what that would sound like. So I have some very small, high quality microphones and I wrapped one carefully in rubber to protect it. And I asked the bird's permission, and I stuck it inside the bird, and then I stuck it in the sun for a week. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. Like, first, I had a microphone on the outside, one inside the bird, and you could hear the neighborhood garbage truck, and you could hear the neighborhood kids playing. You could hear all these birds, and then you could hear these flies landing, and then more flies, and then the maggots started, and then it was like, if you didn't know what you were listening to, it was like rain or wind or fire, like just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. I mean, it was kind of powerful. Like those sounds have been broadcast on a field recording site a couple of times. Like, it's powerful. But I also made a pitch to the Penn State grad music experimental music composition class. I said, look, I got all these sounds.
I've got decaying dead bird sounds. Do you want that?
Yes, and they said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think I'm in the end, maybe 7 or 8 composers took those sounds and either used them literally and manipulated or not, or were just informed by that sound experience and made something from it.
Wow.
I mean, it was pretty. I can send you a link to those sounds also.
I like kind of want to cry at that story in a really beautiful way.
It's gorgeous.
Oh my God, life and death.
But wait, can I tell you one more and then
yeah.
I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, please. I love what you're saying.
This was even before COVID. This woman just died. Eliane Radigue is a French experimental music person from the 70s and 80s. And she has this piece where she burns a piano on a beach. And you can find it on film. I can't remember much of those sounds, but I liked the idea so much that I proposed to some friends for the winter solstice of when was COVID? 2020. 21, so 2020, whatever the December 21st, right before COVID spring happened.
19th.
We burned 7 pianos at an abandoned quarry in Pennsylvania. We started at dusk and it went to like 2 a.m, and it was, 2 degrees, 10 degrees, very, very cold. We put them in an ark, and I called it Septet at the Threshold, and there a couple hundred people were there, and some cried, some got mad at me, some got mad at me for spiritual reasons, and some got mad at me because of the smell of all those piano keys burning. But that was a gorgeous thing also. I also have that recorded. Like, you can hear before all the fire kicks off, we lit them in this kind of organized pattern, right, left, and people were playing them until they got too fiery to play. But you could hear people playing one piano, and then, especially with the bass strings, when they would pop, you would hear the and then you would hear the key drop. Wow. So it was really layered sounds. And then at the end of the night, I had a friend doing this audio recording. He had a microphone way up over everybody and pointed down, so you could hear the crowd without anybody dominating and all the pianos. But towards the very end, when it was just like popping and like embers popping and smoldering, my daughter looks. I can hear her. I know she's looking up. She says, "Look at all the stars." It's breathtaking. So I've also have a recording of that business. Yeah.
Wow.
So I like noise. To me, noise includes music, but it's not limited to music.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious how these soundscape experiences have informed your writing.
My only way to think about that is that, my ears are my voice, and it's all the same. Yeah. I can't think about, when I write fiction, when I write novels, I'm hyper aware of sensory details. So there are always particular specific sounds that happen in my book. So I don't know what's informing what. At this point, it's back and forth so much. It's one of the things that I did regularly with a creative writing class is, we would spend time developing character. in certain ways, like tactile or whatever. They would have these characters in mind, and then I would do an exercise that would take a day or two, in which I would play snippets of songs or partial songs, and every time the new song came on, the character had to be in a different place. And whatever they say about that character, what they do, has to be informed by what they hear. Like, it can be a literal, they can be witnessing somebody playing music, or it can just be the tonal influence. But this notion of how the sounds around us inform everything has been important to me for a long time.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
Maybe.
I really love your willingness to go ahead.
I'm just going to say it's just an unfettered brain. All the nonsense comes out at one time.
Does it feel fun, or does it feel?
No,
yeah, now it does, right? Did it feel? I feel like this is like the cosm of you when you were younger. Was it scary?
It was. I would say it was never scary. I would say it was the refuge. Because the going into my imagination was the refuge from not understanding anything that was happening.
And now maybe a point of translating.
Yeah.
In a sense, now you can dissect things, and don't feel like you have to go too deep into this question, but I am curious how your parents impacted your voice. You said when 18-year-olds come into your class, they don't really know what their voice is, and I was thinking, well, they have a pretty big imprint from their parents or their teachers or whoever caretakers from youth, and I'm curious the good and the bad that stick out to you from along your journey of developing your voice.
I mean, we also being me and my wife, we talk about that pretty frequently now. My papa's in a facility with dementia, and my mom is older but healthy. So I have a brother who's 18 months younger than me, and well, I'll answer the question and then explain my answer. I feel like my experience as a child shaped and directed, made the vessel that I take in and pour out of now, always.
Absolutely.
But it was not a conscious, intentional shape by anybody there. Like, it was an environment of sort of deep Christian fear and oppression, and just like fear of anything different in the world. And it's like, racist and violent, not in my immediate family, but uncles and aunts all outside, like just horrible racist, horrible violence. Every time I go home still, it's always stories about who's in jail, who's died, who's dying, like all that stuff. So my brother and I had the same growing up. My experience and probably something of my DNA, or just luck of the draw, my experience propelled me away from that place, like propelled me with great speed and unstoppable motion away from that place, recognizing where I came from, but that's not where I'm from. It's not what I do.
And there's no going back there.
My brother's stuck. Like, he's incredibly smart, but so stuck in just emotionally stuck, afraid of everything. So we both had the same experience, both had the same circumstances, but reacted to them in different ways. And I was, I think that's why I was drinking and drugging so much as kids, kind of not knowing a way out, not seeing a way out, because nobody around me was ever doing anything except getting arrested and going to jail and, dying. So I always had a self-protective urge, never had consciously self-destructive, suicidal, never had that. Like, I always had, I'm driving ahead, I'm taking care of this. But sometimes that meant getting so drunk that I drove black. I can't tell you how many times I've driven blackout drunk. I have no idea. The hardest part about being a deep atheist is I have no idea why I'm still alive. you know? So all of that experience shaped my voice. I think getting perspective, learning compassion gives it some important depth.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
You feel like that it sounds like the turning point was, through the door of welding, but really when you discovered that writing club and when you kind of really started leaning in, were you conscious that writing was kind of your savior in a way?
Oh, well, the earlier story is in the 10th grade, maybe the 9th grade. It had to be the 9th grade because I dropped out of school in the 10th grade. I wrote a short story that got me suspended from school for 2 weeks. So,
did you kill the principal in a short?
Oh no, I was like an adolescent boy with a constant boner. So, and it was. I don't remember the contents of the story. I remember it was incredibly sexual. So, before that story, I had written a bunch of others that I did share with my teachers, and I remember her saying some version of, these are good. They're very violent, but they're very good. Back in that day, violence wouldn't be a trigger, like especially in the South. We were just killing people all the time. But I wrote a story about what I wanted to know most about, but didn't, was sex. And that one I knew not to show to my teachers, but my friends gave it to my teacher, or she took it away or something. So my parents and my teacher had a conference, and maybe even the superintendent, had a conference that I was not present at, like talking about the story, and came out and said, "You're suspended for 2 weeks." Never talked about why, never anything. So it was shame making, but also like, God, words can get me in some fun trouble. Like never, ever forgot. Maybe I wasn't always conscious of it, but the deliciousness of that was always around. So when I started writing as, kind of a legitimate claim to this voice, I wrote provocatively. I was always about sort of provocation and extreme and
it was a form of rebellion. It was almost a form of rebellion, like fuck the system.
Of course, yeah.
Now I can do it, and you can't suspend me from life.
I mean, it's one of the things that I keep I paid attention to as a teacher. Like, I like kids to take risks and be extreme. I mean, I would always say, all the bad words have already been said. All these, you're not going to do anything brand new simply for the sake of provocation. So try it out. If you stay there, it's to your own detriment.
Yeah. It's something I experienced at Mad Dash with you is just, and I've known this about theater, but I felt it a couple of times in what we finalized and performed, was really dancing this fine line that it's only okay to dance on stage or in art, to say the least. I'm sorry that happened to you at 16, and from the point of view of this though, that that could have really silenced you and really and really put a clamp on your voice permanently, subconsciously for life. So I'm so thrilled to hear that it was the opposite for you when it came time to really put tongue to pen. And at the same time, did you go to a religious school or was it public?
Just public, rural North Carolina school.
Yeah, interesting. I was raised very religious as well, and I went to a private Christian school in my early youth. So that would have been...
What denomination? Was it Christian Catholic?
No, was not Christian Catholic. Oh my God. I was raised Pentecostal Christian until we got kicked out.
Really?
You too?
Well, my mom came from that. My mom came from the Pentecost and the Baptist, but the Presbyterian is where we were. So it was kind of Pentecostal light. Like nobody, there was no snake handling. There was laying on of hands. I don't know if I ever heard speaking in tongues in my church. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I used to entertain myself by listening to that stuff and by going to tent revivals. Anyway, I interrupted you.
Fascinating. Yeah, for you bringing it all back. I don't think about it often until I do. But yeah, there was a lot of speaking in tongues when I was a kid. And that was normal because that was, what church was. And that's what we did like 3 times a week or whatever. Anyway, all of that to say, wow. The church on The Voice is its own conversation. But I was also, although I was saving myself for Jesus as a kid, I was also sexually curious until that was kind of dampened, of course. But my whole point in saying all of this is the cool thing about art and writing and film and all of that is to explore the things that are not socially acceptable. Yeah. Is to talk about the things that Jesus wouldn't do that, or that's inappropriate. And it's like, what if it's not too inappropriate? What if we do allow ourselves to talk there and we allow it to be okay? And instead of trying to suppress that, I mean, we see what happens in the church throughout history when we suppress things. And what if it's healthy to have an outlet in some context? And then, yeah, agreed. I mean, it's interesting. Actually, I think this is a great moment. Do you have a summary of what our play was about, our Mad Dash play?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, how do you summarize that?
Wow, Alicia, I don't, three ways of seeking, three ways of bouncing off of a circumstance, three ways of reacting to global unknowns or societal unknowns. I don't know. That's
I love that. I've been saying it was a little bit more literally, but I love the combination of our summaries. I've been saying that it was ultimately a ritual to curse Epstein.
Yeah.
In a very literal sense. But I love the ambiguity of your summary. Of course it was ambiguous because it was also about, these really hard things the thing about the Epstein files is like we're being forced to look at this really ugly thing. Yeah. And this thing that's not new, it's just newly revealed.
Right.
It's been woven throughout history, but in silence and behind closed doors. And now it's just coming out that this is a thing that we have to look at as a fact that happened as a part of history. Right. And that these things do happen. And what our play was doing was almost an accountability of we have to do something about it. And none of us know what we're doing, but we have to do something. And even to the end, like we still don't know. Let's ask ChatGPT. Yeah. Maybe ChatGPT knows how to do, because it's so hard to look at. Right. There was a moment when I was on stage where I felt up until that point, the audience was like, this is funny and chaotic and kind of all over the place. But there was the one line that Julie had about, which is still pretty aloof, but his island and the files. And when it was really revealing that the thing that we were doing was to curse Epstein or put a spell on him, that I felt the whole audience shift.
Right, like a focusing.
And come together, unifying. I'm getting chills just like tapping into it. And it was just like, no matter what happened as actors on stage, at that point, they were so behind us. Yeah. And it was this moment in the 7.5, 8 minutes that we were on stage that everyone that's been grappling and listening and reading and learning about the truth of what happened and raking through the bullshit and the redactions to find the truth of what happened. It was this moment where all of us as a room had the opportunity to really stand behind, that's wrong. Yeah. And we don't know what to do, but just that unified feeling of that's so wrong. And please say something, anything about it. And I don't care if it makes me angry or if you're eating babies, or which was a line that we debated putting in the play or not, or if you're laughing at the thing, just to be able to feel something about this thing in a unified sense of that is fucking wrong. It's just like the most successful part about everything.
Which is like a step towards maybe it won't happen again, right? You can't unchange it, but it might not happen again. When you were talking, I was like trying to imagine how differently the outcome, or maybe even the entire play, would have been if there'd been a man among the actors.
I had that thought too. I remember I said right before we sent you off into the writing room, I have no problem playing a man if
Yeah.
you want to cast, I recognize we're three women, and if you want
That's true. I actually made that note, and then I realized that it just wouldn't go where I wanted it to go. Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, even you can roll your eyes at the fact that we were like three witches or three shamans or three mystics or whatever you want to categorize our characters, putting this curse. But it was really what I love the most about it, and taking away of black magic or the judgment of the mystic, if you will, is that underneath it there's also a conversation of the divine feminine rising,
Yeah.
and the voice of the women. I spent a lot of time in the last week listening to survivor stories,
Mhm.
and just the importance of listening to women and listening to stories, but listening to women, and how hard that was. Even one of the survivors, she's like, I didn't even have it that bad compared to some of the other girls, but even how hard it was for her to talk
Yeah.
about those things, and how important,
Yeah.
and the whole time I'm listening, I feel like I'm listening to mythology,
Yeah.
and it's real. And then
Mhm.
again, it brings me back to just our little stage and our little story of like, we're going to hide behind the mask of this is just theater, but it's not. And
Yeah.
can we really talk about this? Can you talk about the menanin smoking a cigarette and let this sort of demonic figure have a novel of a story? And can we judge past what this is and hear the consciousness behind it and the wrestling with the psyche? It's so
Yeah.
important.
I mean, in a way, there's something of that behind my idea of this small talk theater audience of one, where one person at a time has an experience with one theatrical act and one puppeteer, director, whatever that's called. Like that's how the change happens. Like one person at a time.
Oh, it's why I became a hypnotherapist. I'm not in as much as I'm like into therapy in many platforms. Hypnotherapy is one person at a time, and I sit with them for hours,
Yeah.
and really getting to the root of something, because I know that if we do that, we trusting that process, you will come out the other side different. And then I cast you out, like go back out into the world
Yeah.
healed. And the amount of people that you will touch and impact just because your light switch is back on, you feel a little bit more free, a little bit more patient and compassionate, and there's much more impact of that one person having a total healing than a little bit of everybody a little bit at a time, at least from my pursuit.
Small talk theater.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. And that's you said at Fringe and
At Fringe on
Rochester.
Saturday, September 26th, I think. Assuming I can find 10 other people to help me do it.
Oh, absolutely, you will.
I'm sure.
Something I've learned about you, especially in this conversation, is the magnet that you become once you decide something,
Yeah.
and how there's like some sort of magical conspiring in your favor of all of it coming together. And I'm no doubt that that won't be the case for this. I mean, look at your connection with Gerard. Just
He was very excited. I was excited about how excited he was. We had a
isn't
couple
that it?
emails and a big long phone conversation. Like, have
Great.
you met him? Do you know him as a
No.
person? Yeah. No, he seems very solid.
But that part I knew from the few interactions. So,
Yeah.
I responded to a Facebook post about some acting puppet thing, and I'm like, that sounds cool, improv or something. And then he emailed me. We had a couple emails. We got on a call, and very quickly I realized, oh, he needs a writer. He needs like a professional writer. Not
Yeah.
He needs something a little bit more than I am, and I'm humble enough to say that. And I connected with him with a friend of mine. That was a year ago.
Hmm.
And after I connected him with my friend, we never spoke again.
Yeah.
We just didn't need to.
Yeah.
And then when you said puppets the other day, his name came up in my head. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know him. But if that could be something, that would be super cool. So,
It worked. It worked.
yay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. Oh my God. I feel energized when connections like that are made.
Yeah.
So, I'm really excited to know you, Steve. This has been really, really special to drop in with you this way. And now I'm going to start crying again because my heart is overflowing. And I learned so much from you. Thank you. And I'm really excited to continue to just be in your audience or be on your stage, or, just to be intertwined with you creatively.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like Rochester is where we're going to land, and I'm definitely leaning Buffalo. I have some theater projects in mind, so.
Fantastic.
Right.
The grounds are fertile.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right.
All right. Peace.